Hi, I'm Kevin Klein, City Councillor for Charleswood, Tuxedo and Westwood, as well Chair of the Winnipeg Police Board. At our PP&D meeting this week, we call it PP&D, Property Planning and Development, I put forward a motion that would introduce a planning commission for the City of Winnipeg. Now, this is not uncommon across Canada. Many major jurisdictions, Calgary for example, have introduced a planning commission to take the politics out of some very important decisions. The property and planning is probably the most important division that we have in the city, and it's often the most contentious. This is a division that generates millions and millions and millions of dollars every year in new revenues. It's the division that decides where industrial lands go, where property can be, where you can have an infill lot, and so on. All decisions that are very important and that require knowledge. And I believe they require industry knowledge. For the past several months, I've sat on many of these PP&D meetings, and I've listened to the city side and I've listened to the builder side, and then we have to make a decision. Not unlike a court of law, but the difference is in a court of law, the judge making the decision has experience in the law, has experience as a lawyer, and understands how to make those judgments and understands what's being said or not being said. And that's why I believe that in this case, with something so important as property and development, it impacts our city's future. It is so important that we should not leave this to politicians. It can't be vulnerable to political desires or political fears or political interference. We need to take the politics out of something this important and have a commission that is filled with skilled, experienced experts in the field, various fields. And I had a wonderful email from one gentleman, thank you very much for the email and the support, who suggested that this property commission could actually be filled with semi-retired experts, people that no longer have skin in the game. Because I know some are afraid, oh, if it's a builder sitting on there, they're going to make decisions for them. The intent is not to have builders sitting on the planning commission. Not at all. The intent is to have an architect, an engineer, a designer, a landscape designer, to have a carpenter, an electrician possibly, to have people from the community that have an interest in how the city grows and that has an interest in maintaining the character of the city. A very well-rounded commission that is selected and appointed by City Council on an annual basis. This would move forward our infill strategy. This is a very important part of Winnipeg's future, infill. And there's some communities that don't want infill right now. They're having a struggle with it. We're trying to figure that out. But there are some communities that want infill. It regenerates their neighborhood, and they're looking to have that the new homes built. But that's stalled out because of the political process. So there's 4 politicians trying to make a decision on something, and we're, of course, listening to both sides. The other issue that the Planning Commission could help with is Centerport. Let's look at Centerport. All the construction that's happened out there is on the side of the RM, none on the Winnipeg side. Why is that? Why are we not looking at that? Why are we not pushing that forward? Well, maybe a planning commission that understands what the problems are, who are familiar with the slowdowns of the city, they could help move that along. So that's the purpose of the planning commission. I believe it's in your best interest, in the best interest of the city's future, to have something this important under the watchful eye of skilled experts and quite possibly semi-retired, very experienced skilled experts. So we'll see how that moves through the process. Please, make sure you share it with your friends, share it with your city councillor. This is a good idea. It's time that we bring in the experts to help us move the city forward. Another item we talked about at PP&D is a group of Westwood residents. You may have seen the story online. It's on the Facebook page if you would like to take a look at it, on Auger Avenue in Westwood. They have some homes, they bought homes there, and it looks like the builder had cut some corners. And now they require a lot of work to be brought up to code. And the city is pushing them to have the work done. In fact, pushing so hard that some of them may be forced out of their home. The city will do the work and send them the bill. And what we've done is put a motion forward to stop that, because this group of residents is taking the builder, the insurance company, the engineer to court to have them pay for it because they can't afford it. we're looking at costs of somewhere in the field of $250,000 for some residents. They didn't pay that much for these condominiums. These are retired people. These are, a single family. They need some help. They don't need pressure from the city. They don't need the city pushing them. I don't understand why we can't wait a few months and see what the judge decides. So that's what we are trying to do. We were successful yesterday in, again, slowing it down, and it will come back to the Property and Development Committee later in April at our next meeting. I believe it's around April 21st or April 27th, when we'll get to hear from the residents themselves. And I'm looking forward to that so that my council colleagues can see the stress that they're under and, help me direct the department to maybe work with these residents as opposed to push them so hard. And let's just see what the court does. And finally, just wanted to bring you a quick update on the $40 million that is outstanding, according to the city, from the province. We heard a lot about it during the budget. We heard a lot about it after the budget, how they haven't paid us, they haven't paid us. We're not hearing about it anymore. It's out of the news because the federal government came in and said, well, we'll give you $40 million. We haven't heard about that as a city council anyways. We haven't heard if that's been confirmed. We haven't heard what we'll do with the money. We haven't heard any suggestions. We haven't been asked for our opinion. Nothing. And getting back to the provincial money, you may recall on our social media, we posted a letter that we sent to the city administration and to the mayor's office requesting some details. We did get a reply. It wasn't very detailed, I'll be very, very honest with you. This actually, if you look at the yellow highlights, are a bunch more questions that were raised because of the very limited response they sent back. We asked for copies of invoices because that seems to be an issue with the province. We never got copies of the invoices. So what we did was send another letter back and indicated what we still required, because as it says in our second letter to the administration and the mayor's office, I, as an elected official and a city official and a citizen of this city, want to stand in solidarity with our administration. If the province owes us money, I want to make a stand. I want to make them pay. I want to make them live up to their obligations. But I can't do that unless I know the facts, unless I know the true story. And I'm not getting it. I'm still not getting that information. And I put that in the letter. I said, I need to determine the origin of fault. And with limited access to the details and with no response from the administration, it's very hard to stand behind the city. This email was March 19th and still no response. We'll keep you posted on that. If you have any questions, please send them in, because that's what we're here for, to answer your questions. I work for you. You can leave your message on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or you can send an email to Kevin K at kevinklein.ca. Take care and have a great day.